Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the Yo Video Games podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for nearly 500 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideoGamesPodcast. Dude of the week is Fenrir M. I don't know if it's really your last name, so I'm just not gonna. If it's just a screen name, Fenrir, it's great.
Cool, it's a cool name.
Sick ass name.
Either way, so
another name that's just really great is Bjorn.
Bjorn.
Yeah,
I have a Fenrir in my Saturn. I replaced the optical drive with a Fenrir.
Hell yeah.
That's what they call the ODE optical disc emulator. And the reason they call it the Fenrir, as I've said before, is because the Sega Saturn, obviously based on the planet Saturn, one of its biggest moons is Fenrir.
Sexy.
So for the replacement part, they call them Fenrir.
It's a good name.
So
it's a good, solid name.
I like it. I think it means like wolf or something.
Yeah, well, Fenrir is the mythological wolf from Ragnarok.
There you go.
Yeah, kills a whole lot of people. He's chained up.
Yeah, it's the big dire wolf. Bunch of scientists are going to bring it back.
Hell yeah. Nothing bad can happen there. I mean, given everything else.
I don't know if you saw that. I was like, wait, we Jurassic Parked a bunch of extinct wolves?
Yeah, and apparently there's a bunch of other things that they have access to that they might be able to do.
Well, the thing is, it's not quite Jurassic Park. It's a cool thing. It's cool what they've done, but they're not technically an extinct animal brought back. They are genetically manipulated gray wolves.
Still cool.
It's still cool, but it's like, okay, so they took a gray wolf and then they genetically altered 14 lines of their genome to make them match the genome of a dire wolf fossil. So it's not like cloning. It's not like taking the DNA from a fossil and then like finding a way to clone it back into living. So they're not actually clones. They're Khan from if you've seen Star Trek.
Yeah.
They're Khan Noonien Singe, where like they're genetically altered gray wolves. They're like super soldiers.
Wolves.
Yeah.
In the bowels of the internet, where I am a denizen, there's a whole thing about how like China's been doing that with children over the last like 15 years. Apparently, like they'll like change eye color and. They can.
I heard about Japan doing this. I heard Japanese scientists were definitely trying to find ways to genetically alter people to have odd colored hair and eyes. And I'm like, of course Japan would.
Hell yeah. I don't know if it's true, but it is.
Will make my blue-haired child a reality. It
is the next step into super soldierdom and, our coming apocalypse. So
there was a whole subplot in Batman Beyond, which I remember thinking it's just kind of a silly thing or whatever, where it was called splicers, where people would genetically splice their DNA to give them animal traits like little horns on their head or, or like reptile, snake tongues or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that was just kind of you never know. We may actually get to that weird point someday in the future where people are just screwing with their biological code so that they can be like half furry for reals,
or at the very least give you like dog ears so you can hear things from 4 times as far away, or eagle eyes so you have like the eyes that can zoom. And I don't know. That just seems like things we're gonna do, and it's gonna go bad.
Oh yeah.
But and when it's those early years, cool as hell.
I mean, Batman and Beyond was so cool. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I could probably spend a whole episode talking about why Rocksteady and WB Games should just make a Batman Beyond game,
and they never will.
And why it's such a smarter idea than doing another Bruce Wayne Batman game, because they've done everything they can do. And Kevin Conroy's passed. God rest his soul. It would suck not having Kevin Conroy as Old Man Bruce again, but. You can mentally sort of be like, okay, yeah, Old Man Bruce has a different voice actor. He sounds different. It's easier to like them be like, oh, well, yeah. that's not Kevin Conroy. But then again, they did young Bruce by oh gosh, Chris Redfield. What's his name?
I'm bad with voice actors. I've always been bad with
No,
voice actors.
like I think he's still the current Sonic voice actor.
Ben Schwartz?
Roger Craig Smith.
Oh,
Sorry.
Not Ben Schwartz.
No, the game.
I know. I was just being a dick. I we'll never get a Batman Beyond because of the dozens of us who love it. Just don't have enough sway. We don't have big enough.
I don't know, because the thing is, because they're like, well, people don't know that. People are familiar. People want, like, the Batman they know. And I'm like, okay, even if you're not familiar with it, you gotta at least admit the concept is cool, and it gives you a lot of creative leeway that you wouldn't normally have.
Cyberpunk Batman in the future, yeah. It sells itself, which is why so many executives won't sign off on it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I recently pitched something that made so much sense that when it got accepted, I was just kind of like, how? And like my partner on the project was just like, what do you mean? This is good. And I'm like, yeah, but it's just like the project makes too much sense. Have you ever heard of an executive being like, yeah, this makes sense? No. Like, something's gonna go wrong. But no, we should talk about a couple of the elephants in the room. Doug Bowser recently said that if you can't afford Switch 2, that's why they're going to keep supporting the Switch 1, which is really similar to what they said about the Xbox One versus the Xbox 360. And that worked out great for Microsoft. I think everybody's pretty happy with that comment over at Microsoft.
Yeah, that was that was a thing, and it wasn't just Doug that had like the sort of like, oh, that's a take.
Mask off villain moment.
Yeah. Bill Trinan, like decades long Nintendo of America employee, he's been there forever, been a translator, been involved, hands on forever and ever, and he had a couple of choice quotes that were just kind of like, whoa, buddy, what are you doing, man? Like you, because Doug is, he's a VP from EA, so and then before that he worked at Procter and Gamble, so
right, he's in his lane.
He's in his lane to say kind of like scummy, out of touch things. That's pretty in his lane, right? Bill has been at this since like the Super NES or an NES. Like he should really know better, I feel, than what he did, because yeah, to sort of reiterate, because there are a couple things that Bill Trinan said, and the first one that anyone cares about was that he tried to argue that, oh, well, wait till the Mario Kart World Direct, you'll see, he was like, you'll see why it's worth $80, when we talk more about the game next week, which is kind of like kicking the can down the road. But it's also like, buddy, nothing is going to justify $80 baseline for a Mario Kart game.
I mean, Nintendogs are doing it already.
Yeah, of course. And then his other one was because someone basically asked him, like, hey, so is Nintendo Tokyo the ones doing Donkey Kong Bonanza? And he's like, it's a very good question. You'll have to stay tuned. We'll have to stay tuned. We always like to start by showcasing the game and getting people focused on the gameplay. We'll have some information to share about the developer in due time, which is just kind of like, right, Nintendo's complete refusal to credit people. Like, to me, this is a longer running issue because they've been doing it for a while, where they hid the developer of Mario and Luigi Brothership last year. They were hiding the developer of Princess Peach Showtime. It was good feel, by the way, and it was Acquire that did Brothership. They were like, oh, well, we don't like to talk about who the developer is. Like, you'll know who did it in the credits. They refused to say who was replacing Mario's voice with Mario Wonder. You'll just have to wait till the credits to find out, kind of thing. And then again, like, I've been on this before, but like, I've never downloaded the Nintendo Music app because they refuse to credit any musician who wrote a song for them. And they're just like, there is no musicians. There's just Nintendo itself, the brand birthed the music. So, I mean, bit of a hearty fuck you.
Yeah, well, it's a Japanese cultural thing. Like, companies in Japan generally do this, or is this really a Nintendo?
It is. Well, I mean, it definitely goes back a bit, but most companies kind of got over it. Like it was a big anti-poaching tactic back in the 80s, going
Oh,
into the early 90s, and then that kind of just went away. And most companies just sort of like, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever. Like as gaming got bigger and interest in it got grew, people they just like, yeah, this is well, here's the credits, here's who made the game, whatever. They just and Kojima was one of the ones who pushed for it. However you feel about him, but he was pushing for accreditation on his work, and yeah,
which yeah, auteurs are going to push for
yeah,
credit
and
for this
so
game.
it's like okay, like it it's one of those like why in the world is this even a problem? Because it's like as a guy who works in both marketing and just management and translation for as a liaison and everything as Bill has for decades. Bill effing knows who made the game. All Bill has to say is, yeah, it's made by the Odyssey team. Yeah, it's made by our studio in Tokyo.
I wonder if he was been directed not to say anything. You know what
Well,
I mean?
the answer just clearly comes off as, yeah, we don't talk about developer. We don't talk about developers anymore. We don't talk about, you know, and maybe it's because there's I am that asshole who will distinctly recall the diet sexism of Enuma from 2016 and won't let it go.
I
So
and considering all the other problems Nintendo's having right now, I mean, they had to stop pre-orders basically. They had to push
well,
back pre-orders in the United States and
they did
Canada
not start them. And in Canada, they just decided that like today,
hours
like
ago.
the
Yeah.
day before, they were about to go live. So
Um
yeah,
eh, yeah, so we should touch on that a little bit. Crazy tariffs, and apparently the price of 450 uh did not take into account tariffs at all. Now
yeah,
granted, it probably took into account, you know, the moving costs of friend shoring. Nintendo moved to Vietnam to avoid
yeah.
the tariffs that were on China, and I think that was a reasonable play considering our last administration
The
had
thing
no
is
interest
that
in.
the price of the system was definitely a factor in the last 8 years of our government.
Right.
If frankly, if there wasn't as much uncertainty economically, regardless, in the last 8 years, the price of that system probably would have been $400
Yeah.
if no one had tried to rock the boat in the last 8 years. So it was already whether regardless of which ones we're specifically talking about here, um, like it was already priced as a sort of okay, well, things have changed, things are, and we know things are in flux, and things might get worse, and things got way worse like the day of. So, yeah, I'm saying is like the price of everything, and this goes beyond just government organizations, whatever. This goes into stuff like Nvidia in general, where the market of GPUs and everything kind of like going topsy turvy.
Well,
Um,
and the devaluing of the yen.
yeah, and the devaluing of the yen. Just there's a lot of factors that
Yeah.
may led it into this $450 price point. Um, but it's a reaction, not just it's not because there's so much tech in the system. It's
Right.
because the GPU market is crazy, and it's been crazy since basically since COVID. With just generally, your graphics processing unit, like the technology and the industry behind that in general. You
Has
remember,
been
and then
really, really chaotic. Yeah.
it's been chaotic, and Intel melting down, their whole CPU thing with the 13th and 14th gen
Right.
CPUs that are just straight time bombs, and like at a really wonky 15th gen that's like not very good, but at least it won't like melt kind of thing. Like
Yeah, and then they got hit by another 46% tariffs. So instead of 450, we're looking at on the bright side or on the positive side, or maybe the easiest hit, $600 in the US it'll
could be.
cost. Probably around there. I think it's probably going to be a little bit more. I think they're not going to want to risk taking any kind of a hit. When I was looking at it, I was like $600 is going to be the low end because maybe they'll like bump the price up worldwide to other customers to try and lower the price here
Hmm.
to account for the hit they're going to take here. I don't know that they will. And obviously there's further calculations that they'll take into account. But yeah, you might be looking at a $600 handheld now. The good news is here, um, it will still probably end up being the cheapest console because every console is going to get hit by these tariffs, and the PlayStation and the Xbox, if components of those are manufactured in China, they'll now be double the price because China has 104% tariff as of today. So shit's weak and whack and crazy. But I don't want to do a Doomer episode, honestly. And I think you've pretty clearly expressed that one, we're not economists. We've basically said most of our understanding here as to what's going on without getting boring. And now we want
Yeah,
to talk about launch games.
yeah. I think the more interesting discussion is not so much of like what's this going to cost, how's this going to affect, blah 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 blah. Because there's really, I mean, we can only speculate, and
Too
stuff
many things can change
change on a
here in
whim.
June. Yeah.
So, but let's talk about like the generalization of prices. If we want to talk about price, let's talk about the games.
Right.
Let's go back to like what Bill Trinen said, where he's like, you'll see why we believe Mario Kart World is worth $80, which I don't think it is. And I said, I said to Stealth, I was like, I think only, and I thought I was being generous, but even then, people were angry at me for saying it, and they're fair. They're not wrong. Where I said only Zelda and Xenoblade can really justify $80, and they're like, no, nothing justifies. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're kind of right. Technically, nothing really justifies $80. Would I pay $80 for say a Xenoblade 4? Yes.
Then it justifies. The market justifies.
I wouldn't
That's
be
the thing.
happy about it, but I'd do it. It wouldn't question. Now, the for me, if we're just using me as a sort of anecdotal evidence, uh, okay, so Xenoblade will justify $80. If does Mario Kart, would I pay $80 raw, for Mario Kart World? No, I would just not buy Mario Kart World.
Which is hilarious because of the games that they're talking about launching with, Mario Kart is actually the one most likely to be worth $80. You are going to get the most playtime out of that game, probably, because you're going to be playing with friends. You're going to be like constantly
Yeah,
replaying.
and this brings up the greater discussion right now is like is time you invest in a game worth the money? Because Fortnite and Marvel Rivals, and games like Naraka and Genshin, and they exist and they're free. Warzone, even, like going back to Verdansk, these are free games that you can play with varying degrees of how quality your experience will be at the I don't pay any money. Like Rivals is about as good as it is about it. The gameplay experience in Rivals, I can say, is equal at free, or if you're paying, for more loot costumes. Like the gameplay experience truly does not change in Rivals, straight
Right.
up. Now that is for better or worse. That's it. Whether if you like it or you don't. Fortnite, I would say the experience doesn't really change, but I mean, say if you're waltzing into Fortnite like strictly in a freemium capacity, you're gonna feel a little FOMO because there's just so many like licensed known character IPs and so many dances and so many jingles and taunts and whatever, and then it's going to be like, okay, I really can't do, I can just wave as Jonesy or whatever. So Fortnite is, yeah, you can get the pretty much the perfect, you can get a parody gameplay experience sort of, but they're going to really hit you with FOMO. Like Marvel Rivals, there's just not that many costumes per character right now, where it's like if I see someone running around, with a lewd, Mrs. Fantastic costume, it's like, okay, all right, you horn dog. Like that's just it. Like, look at this horn dog over here. That's basically it.
I mean, the thing is, when we talk about like prices of games, prices of software, I mean, prices of software just generally, right? Let's to beat up on the tech world a little bit more. I'm sorry, Elon.
I'm not.
I'm not. I mean, it's the greatest thing. Sometimes you see the internet and you're all like, it is a place of sharks. It is a place of wolves. Okay. It is
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart. And you know who has just a weak skin? A billionaire who's not used to losing. Okay. I'm just saying sometimes bullying is satisfying. No, that's a messed up joke. But my my beat up on tech is like 10 years ago. It's more than 10 years ago now. The profit margin for the tech world, the goal profit margin was like 50%. Like
Mhm.
that's an insane profit margin.
No, they ain't doing that now
No,
fully.
but like, well, I'm not talking about video games. I don't. The profit margin for video games is quite a bit less. But like, the tech world was aiming for software profit margin for like apps and stuff like that
Mhm.
to be 50%. Uh, that's insane when you think like an ethical profit margin. At least in business schools and stuff that they talked about.
15%, yeah.
Yeah, 15%. Now, granted, that's old school. That's like, 70s, 80s business school. But like around the late 70s to 80s is where business changed its mindset. You had a corporate mindset of like, um, I think they called it the spoke wheel philosophy, where like a corporation was trying to keep their company healthy because it led to more consumerism, right? Ethical profit margins meant that more people had more money to spend on more products, and that was good overall, right? High tide raising all boats. Corporate culture changed pretty drastically in the 80s. A lot of things changed in the 80s, but that's where you had like, Chainsaw Jack and those famous corporate guys. Greed is good, that kind of stuff came
Yeah.
out in the leads. But anyway, the point is like your profit margins in gaming, a lot of people on the internet have been like, oh, but there's, the minimum wage in California is $17 an hour now. And, games haven't changed in price, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the profit margin has grown in games significantly. One, again, in consoles, there is a profit margin in consoles now. But two, like the market is quadruple the size it was in the 90s. I mean, bigger than that probably, but like
I mean, if you
it is
count for mobile, it's massively bigger.
huge. It's a huge market now. It's completely different than the 90s. But two, just like development in general, yes, it's more expensive because it's bigger than it's ever been. But development is a lot. It is a more mature industry, if that makes sense. And the more
Yeah.
mature an industry is, the more specialized it can be, and the more streamlined it can be. So in a lot of ways, every game in the 90s was built from scratch, from the ground up, people learning to do the tools that they were using, right? They invented the tools as they went. And that still happens in game development, yes, but you hire a game developer who has a general knowledge of blah blah blah, code, or like people will graduate from college knowing how to use
Yeah.
Unreal Engine
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that kind of stuff. That didn't exist in the 90s.
Right, yeah.
You built every game was built with a new engine. You built the game from the ground up. It's the reason why emulation of like NES and SNES games were so hard for a long time. It's because like they literally threw away the master copies. Like I think in the early days of the podcast we had a whole episode about why it's insane that they would just throw away these master
Yeah,
copies.
that got really dicey with the early 3D era, because for better or worse, you could throw hardware at an NES or Super NES, and it would just kind of like beef through it. A Dreamcast could do it, right?
Right.
But then when you got to like early 3D tech rendering and just like accounting for that, and then yeah, people would just like make it, ship it, throw it away, and then it's like, how the hell did they do that? It took a very long time to decompile in 64, and they started to do that, right? Where there was like it took years to break through to
Right.
completely reverse engineer Mario 64. But people have done it now, and they've decompiled it. But like it took forever to do like a true, this is how the game was actually done, not emulating it.
This is a
truly,
very
like,
long.
decompiling it.
This is a very long way of me saying that, like, yes, the prices haven't increased, but profit margins and profit has increased significantly since the 90s. Nintendo has been making way more money than they were making in the 90s, is my point. So did they need to increase to $80? Did they need to make that jump? Probably not. Is it okay that they made that jump? Probably yes. We have gotten used to being able, especially in the last 10 years, we have gotten used to being able to buy every game that comes out.
Right. Well,
Like a lot of people.
I mean, I'm going to jump back and say, like, I think it's outrageous. I think $80
Yes.
is outrageous.
Well,
Not from I'm like, well, cost has gone up, just from asking a family to pay $80 for a singular game, to me, is outrageous.
yeah, you're going to see the market shrink, and you're going to see people buy less games overall. You're going to see
Yeah,
just like
like
less sales. And is
like
it worth it?
because the thing is like they're and the big kind of tell here is how Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70 and Mario Kart's 80.
Mhm.
And they're clearly doing that because they absolutely know there's way more interest in Mario Kart World. You
Yeah.
know, coming off the 65 million copies sold of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Obviously, this is going to be the highest in demand game for the entire system, for the entire duration of the system's life. So we're going to charge 80 for it because it's going to be the most in demand game. Now, Donkey Kong Bonanza might be a game that probably had similar, maybe had a little bit lower budget or whatever. We don't know. Nintendo will never tell us their budgets, but like the budgets are probably not that different between the two, because Nintendo Tokyo hasn't made a game since Bowser's Fury, a 5-hour add-on to 3D World, and then Odyssey was their last full major game they released 8 years ago. So what has that entire development studio in Tokyo been doing for 8 years? You know, there was like this cute 4 to 5 hour Bowser's Fury add-on thing, and then Donkey Kong Bonanza. So regardless, they've had to keep the lights on and the employees hired, you know, at that studio for all that time doing something. So here it is, DK Bonanza, but they're charging less for it because they know there's not as much demand. I think that there's a sort of like naked greed here that really rubs people the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way too, where it's like we're charging 80 for Mario Kart because we can, not because, you know, the game necessarily necessitated it, the development necessitated it. Like, you know, we have so much more money poured into it. It's more just like, well, this is the best selling game of our last 4 systems is a Mario Kart game. So this is the game people want the most. So let's charge the most for it.
And if it's a success, that'll be how they do every game following. They will
Yeah,
charge.
if anything, this is testing the waters.
The other thing is they set the bottom barrier. That's the other thing. Is like it's not like you're going to get a Mario game that's $50 because it's a little thing. No, $70 is the bottom. They've shown you that $70 is as low as they're willing to go on a new game. Now, if it sells really poorly, are we going to see in like 6 months that games or the system drop price?
Well, the real question needs to be is how is Nintendo going to see it? Like, because we'll never know what the individual versus the bundled sales for this thing are going to be.
Right.
And someone said in Japan, like the cost of a bundle with Mario Kart World, they're charging less than half of the game.
Right.
Like the price difference is like 5,000 yen or something. It's like it's some, they're practically giving the game away for free if you buy the bundle in Japan. Where here it's $30 off, but it's even more off in Japan to buy it bundled with the system. So Nintendo's doing the weirdest thing where they're to me it's like they're kind of just almost not blackmailing you, but they're making you look like an idiot if you don't buy the bundle. Like, why would you not buy the bundle? It's a Mario Kart game, and we're going to give you so much off, even Japan, way more off if you buy it with the system in the bundle.
Which means that the system has a higher profit margin than we even think about. Like it means they're making a profit.
It means it costs way more. Maybe it also means it costs more to manufacture. So offloading a game is the simplest way to sort of it's like how Sony threw in a disc drive player on PS5s that cost them nothing, but they could charge more for the system to basically cover the cost of manufacturing.
Right.
So I
mean,
mean,
that's true too.
It's sly, but it's kind of good. The thing is like if it was a $60 game and you got it for $50 bundled, that's still a deal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, $30 off is pretty steep.
now it's a steep deal. Now it's like you are a dummy if you don't do this. Like you have to hate Mario Kart, if
Yeah.
you don't buy the bundle. And who hates Mario Kart? No one. So
I mean, I was gonna be like the Nazis,
yeah, right.
ultimate evil. Um, yeah,
It almost makes me wonder. It almost makes me truly wonder if maybe they're just going to drop the system, which is funny because Japan apparently hates the idea of selling a bundled game with the system, but maybe they just need to get over it and realize it's not at 1985 anymore. But maybe you should just sell the bundle.
yeah, I don't know why well,
Like maybe just sell the bundle.
yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do. And so much is in flux right now. Again, we could find out that they did drop the non-bundled system, or maybe they'll drop the bundle for North America. Granted, they've already shipped, all the units for launch are apparently already in the United
Yeah,
States.
I mean, Doug Bowser did say, yeah, they are here.
So, but they might drop one or the other post launch window,
right, yeah,
and so you'll never be able to get another bundled system, or you'll never be able to get, I don't know. Again, until launch day, so much stuff can change.
yeah. One of the other goobers of Mr. Bill Trinan, unfortunately, had to be which funny because I remember I had a long conversation with this dude one-on-one one time, just off the record. But anyways, there was his big was basically there was no good way to answer this because people straight up asked him what happens when you press the C button and you don't have an online subscription. And the answer is basically nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So or it just takes you to, or just like loads up the eShop or something like that, or it just gives you an ad basically.
Yeah.
So
mean,
and
that
he's
makes
like
sense.
the online experience in his, like he's saying, which is true, but also kind of fucked, is that the online experience is integral to the system. So they have a whole button function dedicated to you subscribing to their online service on top of the system. And some people think that's really screwed up. Like in
Why it worked so well for Xbox?
yeah, I just can't. I mean, I just kept thinking like, wait, doesn't Xbox have this technically? Well, the
Wait,
thing
so
is,
do you
okay,
have to be online to play the games? So it's not as bad as Xbox if you don't have to be online to play the
right?
game.
No, because they're not saying they're not saying that. But like, okay, so looking at like an Xbox, you have your whatever there's the big Xbox button, but
Right.
that doesn't require you to be online. Like you press the Xbox button, it'll take you to the Xbox home, right?
Right.
So it takes you to the home menu, what have you. There's not a whole button on a console that's just sitting there. This only exists purely for the online experience.
This
So
is going to be a huge hit, and then next generation Xbox is going to have a Discord button. It's going to be the D button.
right, it is a Discord button. It's a Nintendo Discord button.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like it's more of just I don't. To me, this is not a like get your pitchforks and torches ready. It's more of a like, yeah, wow, okay, yeah, you have a whole button that requires an online subscription to use. And the thing is, I'm never going to press that button. I will have a Nintendo Switch online subscription for the foreseeable future. I will never use that C button.
You're not going to get you're not going to get the camera, and
never. The only thing that actually like made me even sort of like kind of like was and I don't know if it's confirmed for America yet, but it's definitely confirmed for Japan. There's a Hori USB camera. Hori makes all those great controllers. They have a Piranha plant where the camera's in the mouth of this Piranha
that's
plant.
cool.
You just put it like it looks like you have like this little potted, green pipe, Mario green pipe with a Piranha plant like sticking out like. And the camera's like in the middle of the mouth, and when you close it, you close the mouth of the Piranha plant.
I mean, that is cool.
And I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of a dope,
Objectively
dope
great,
like a dope way to use your weird USB camera. But no, I'm never using this thing. I'm never using it. I have Discord. I will not. I play my Switch at the same computer that from which I stream from and moderate content from and whatever. No, I have no reason to ever. I have no reason to ever press the C button at all.
Are you ever going to play this thing in handheld mode?
On a plane?
No, that's fair. That's fair. Part of me was like, how many people play docked 100% of the time?
Apparently not as many as you would think. It is more skewed towards handheld. Like handheld, strictly handheld and high and both far outweigh docked only.
Strictly docked.
But like docked is on the smaller end.
And how many people playing handheld use strictly an Elite controller or Pro controller rather?
Oh, probably none.
Like they prop it up on a little kickstand and just use.
Yeah, I don't think that happens a lot, if at all. Which is weird because hey, they have this. They're pumping out their Pro controller 2 or whatever with the back paddles and whatever on it. So,
which will make them surprisingly good for shooters. If the Pro controller is as good as the Switch 1 Pro controller, which the Switch 1 Pro controller is great, it's so comfortable.
Love it.
But having paddles and stuff on a shooter, like if you're going to play Fortnite or like Warzone, for instance, like you can assign slides and like drop shotting to those paddles.
Yep.
And that's how you do like good, clean drop shots, slides, jump slides, all that stuff.
Indeed. It's great. I mean, there are already like really great alternative controllers for the Switch that have that stuff or whatever. But yeah, I love the Pro controller. I'm probably not going to try to get a Pro controller too.
I mean, not until your first one dies anyway. Because the Pro 1 controller is every bit as good though.
Yeah,
it just doesn't have paddles.
It doesn't have the audio jack either.
Oh,
so
well,
you don't get the audio jack and you don't get the C button.
Well, I know that is a loss for you, because you want to chat with all of your hot singles. When are we? How long do you think over under on how long it takes for the first scandal on the Switch camera?
Scandal or just first inappropriate use of it? Day one for the first inappropriate use of it.
Yeah, but like scandal, like where it'll break that like somebody was using it for the wrong things.
About a month.
About a month?
But within a month.
I think that's generous.
Because I think before the system system's coming out in 2 months, but like I have to imagine the OnlyFans people are like, all right, topless Mario Kart World streams,
immediately. Like
sign up for my OnlyFans. I will give you my friend code, and we will play topless topless Mario Party.
Back half of the episode's going to be all about which launch games do we think OnlyFans influencers are going to play.
I mean, Mario. Oh my god,
Deltarune is going to get all the gooners.
Play.
Yeah. Mario Kart for sure.
Well, they didn't actually say if Marvel Rivals on it, but Marvel Rivals to me would be like, okay, well, the OnlyFans people in costume were just like, all right,
you're gonna see some Hogwarts Legacy weird shit.
Oh God,
you're gonna. Obviously, Civ 7's gonna just titties everywhere.
Civ 7,
obviously. No, I do want to talk about for the back half. I do want to talk about some of these games because we didn't talk too much. We said that it has a good launch lineup, but
could you imagine an Olympics game and an OnlyFans guys like I'm gonna have Greek style original Greek Olympics. Sounds like fans, and I will play this Olympic game. We will go through all the Olympic sports as it was played in the very first Olympic Games in ancient Greece.
Jesus. And there will be a lot of olive oil and a lot of skin.
So what Andrew is not telling, or what I'm not telling you, is that for those who probably are unaware, the first Olympic Games were men only, and only men were allowed to play or attend, and they were performed in the nude.
Oh, they had women games too, but again, only women could attend. They were separate. There were women Olympics, but yes, they were totally nude. And everything. I mean, you're talking long jump. You ever done long jump? Fall on your ass, get all that sand going over it? Yeah, naked and covered in oil, so that your skin's glistening.
Just saying, just imagine like a big, toned, beefy, greasy, hairy Greek dude just butt ass naked.
Don't
wiggling
imagine
his
it too
joints.
much. I see you
Too late.
getting too erect.
They'll even
Yeah.
have they'll even for those who pay for the premium subscription to their OnlyFans, they'll get to watch them oil up before and the games and let them wash up after the games. Like someone's in the shower with this Switch 2 and a USB camera. Yeah, check this out. And it's at like 5 frames a second in his little like Discord window down there.
It's just like I can imagine. It's not even going to be 5 frames per second. That guy's going to have like the beefiest internet. He's going to look the smoothest you've ever seen, and Nintendo's going to be furious. It's going to be beautiful. They're going to be playing like Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they expect, what they hope to even accomplish in sort of mitigating this when it does happen, because
They're selling this to the horniest generation that doesn't like genuinely doesn't like to go out and meet other people. So like, yeah, this is the gooner generation that is going to be the primary buyers of this console. Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're doing this on purpose. They're for sure doing this. They anime titties. Like they're going to do the hell out of this. You're going to have like you got Yakuza 0 on there, so you're going to have like Kiryu and Majima OnlyFans dress ups and
hell
stuff. Yeah. You're going to have all sorts of crazy. It's going to be real hot. It's going to be so hot, guys. I'm in line now. This is all green screen. I'm camped out. Did you see that there's a guy camped? He's going to camp out for 2 months.
Yeah, someone is already planning to camp out in New York or some crap. Like,
asshole. Just pre-order it online when they go open. Yeah, come on. What a dick.
You know what you should do? You should be camping out there for all this time, and then Nintendo will announce it'll only be registration pre-orders only. There's no camping.
I would pay them money for that. I would just the look of,
like they may actually do that.
Do you? I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but 500 episodes in, I've told every story before. Do you remember? Were you in line with us when that guy drove past and screamed "Snape kills Dumbledore" at the midnight showing where everyone was lined up for the book or whatever? I think it was for the book, and like this guy drove past Borders with a loudspeaker, just yells "Snape killed Dumbledore," and he got fired from Borders the next day because they figured out who it was.
No,
do you remember that?
No.
So, it was like me and a bunch of nerd friends were waiting for the book, and this guy drives by and Snape kills Dumbledore, and just 10 people away from us, just somebody screaming no, and like fell to their knees and like screamed no. And I mean, unfortunately, this was like a 14-year-old kid, maybe a little younger, so like truly ruined the shit for him. That is the type of disappointment I hope this man feels. Because for me, it made the book 10 times better. I don't give a shit about spoilers. Never have. But like seeing just this display of overwhelming emotion. Yes, in this case, the emotion was being crushed and it was terrible. And I did feel bad, but also it was very funny.
Number 2 instances. One was walking up to the theater to go see Peter Jackson's Ding Dong, and this dad was just like, "Oh my god, the movie's too long. Monkey dies in the end." Like too long. I'm like, yeah, well, it's a remake of King Kong. I'm like, how is that like someone was like, spoilers, man, and I'm like, I'm sitting here and I just thought in my head, I'm like, spoilers, like the original movie came out like 1930 something, jackass. Like what? How do you?
I don't know.
How do you not know how this ends? Like you don't go to see a remake of King Kong in 2005 and like be surprised that he climbs the Empire State Building and gets shot down, like whatever. And then there's another one. I didn't hear it. I wasn't really paying attention. We were doing a long walk to the theater for Avengers Endgame, and a bunch of people walking out were talking about, Iron Man dying, and I didn't hear him. And then Kenny was like, "Man, I heard them, before we got in," and I was just like, you didn't. I'm glad you didn't say. I'm like, I'm crazy saying, but I'm like, I wouldn't have cared anyways.
Yeah,
Like Robert Downey and Chris Evans contracts were up. I'm like, both were dying or
never coming back in
never
some way.
coming back. Someone I'm like, Chris Evans is gonna go back to the past, or die, and Iron Man is gonna die, and or go back to the past or something, or something will happen. But I'm like, yeah, I walked into that movie going like, yeah, both of these characters are not coming back after this, and I was 100% right. So when it happened, and this wasn't even, I didn't even read anything ahead of time. I just knew that their contracts were up. Chris Evans had already kind of been kind of vocal about he wanted to get behind the camera, and he was kind of done with the acting thing at that point. And
he made his money.
yeah, and so I was just kind of like, well, yeah, like this is the obvious outcome of this. So
My King Kong, like, how did you not know that that's bullshit type thing? Oh, the monkey dies. I was in line to see Attack of the Clones. I was opening, and somebody came out and said, "I can't believe Yoda dies to Count Dooku." And some people around me were like, "Why would you say that to the crowd?" Like, genuinely raged, like they were gonna like fight. And I was young at the time, and I was just like, "Well, how do you not know that that's bullshit?" Like, Yoda's in the other movies that take place after this.
yeah,
Like, Yoda's in episode 4, so clearly he doesn't die. But I remember like a fight at the the theater that's over by where I used to live.
yeah.
Yeah, right there in the parking lot. They had like sectioned out that middle like parking lane, and so there's just this huge line of people like zigzag like it was a theme park. And you've never seen a crowd of people get more unruly so fast than Star Wars nerds like threatening to beat someone with plastic lightsabers because this guy trolled. I actually
How?
I
It was the same parking lot where that King Kong comment happened, by the way.
Hell yeah. Well, that's where, I mean, every asshole lives in that part of town. Jake's Way is like so close, you know? Neither of us live there anymore. I don't know why I'm beating around the bush. You can look up Jake's Way, and if you're in California, never go there. So I I really do want to end the episode on talking about some positives. Things that I think were surprising. One, there's a ton of games that are launching. Like Switch One launched its launch window. How many games did it have?
I mean, if you're counting third party, it had a chunk, but I don't think it was of the same
Caliber? Because granted, yes, okay, a lot of these are on other consoles, but like it's been a while since I've seen such a stacked launch window.
Yeah, because so launch day was 1-2 Switch,
Yeah, and
Just Dance, Breath of the Wild, Skylanders, Super Bomberman R, I Am Setsuna, Snipper Clips, Shovel Knight, Treasure Trove, and Fast RMX. Not much.
yeah, it's not much, but that's actually more than I remembered. And only like 2 or 3 of those were physical carts, though. Everything else was digital, wasn't it?
1-2 Switch was physical. Just Dance probably had a physical. Breath of the Wild had a physical. Skylanders definitely did. Bomberman did. Snipper Clips is the only one that was digital. Well, no, and Fast RMX was digital only.
Huh.
Shovel Knight might have only been digital at that point too. It was
The
digital.
GameStop that I went to only had 2 physical choices, and it was I think it was Zelda and 1-2 Switch.
Actually, it's listed right here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are retail, and the rest were digital. 5 retail, and the rest were digital.
Better than I remember.
Yeah, and then the launch window, which isn't much bigger, but that was all the way till June, was Binding of Isaac, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Puyo Puyo Tetris, Rhyme, Disgaea 5 Complete, Splatoon 2, I was like in July or something. Red Out, Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. Yeah, and that was it. So really not a ton.
I mean, this is like, well, okay, if you don't count the 2 Zeldas because they're basically just re-releases, it's like 22 games, 20 games, something like that. That's going to be launching. Now, granted, again, yes, a lot of these are already out on other things. So
Yeah, well, as people have said, like if you didn't own a PS4 or an Xbox One at any point, and you didn't have a gaming rig PC, this is an amazing launch lineup of
this
games.
is gonna fuck. And to be fair, like there's a lot. Like we know, like friends with kids, their kids only ever played a Switch,
Right.
and so they're gonna be stoked. Like that's sick. I mean, this is gonna be the easiest year to buy birthday and Christmas presents ever for any of your nieces and nephews if you got them, or your own children, because like this lineup's great. I sort of am curious how well Street Fighter 6 is going to do on it because it's
Yeah, and I was hearing around the block that port is actually very good. In fact, that port actually has lower input latency than the console versions.
that's upsetting. It's, well, I mean, not to say that like Switch won't be a serious console, but like it almost feels. How many tournaments are you going to go to where you play on the Switch?
None, but just that
Hmm.
fact, the fact that it alone. But then again, that may not be true through patches and updates, But so if
Yeah, that's fair.
anything, like the one that we're getting might be the one people might have seen or maybe played at these media events. That might be a more updated build of the game than the
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That well, yeah, because it's the 1, 2
Yeah, year
first
1 and 2.
years. Yeah.
And yeah, we're like they don't. Elena is still not out on console yet, so
I'm also like it's probably because of DLSS and some other tricks, but Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition running great on a handheld, it seems like an achievement given all the problems it had on like high-end
yeah.
PCs at launch.
Well, apparently it drops to 40 frames in performance mode,
Okay, but still 40 frames isn't
which
like
dropping to 40 is worlds better than how it launched.
yeah, like that's pretty good.
like
Huh.
it's actually a pretty, from what I understand, it's actually one of the most impressive ports on the system in a way.
Also, the welcome tour is going to be $10, which is still insane to me, but not as insane as I expected. I fully expected them to be like, yeah, it's like $50. Like Nintendo's nuts, but did you ever play Deltarune? You played Undertale.
No, I never played either.
Oh,
I've
you
never
never played.
actually never actually played either of them.
Undertale was stupid fun. I never got like obsessed with it, but it was stupid fun.
Yeah, it was just quality.
And now I'm curious about Deltarune. Okay, so the thing is not to go back onto the harping. I'm probably not getting a Switch this year, given how much it's going to cost. There's just no way that I can afford it right now. But if I was,
That's the fairest statement anyone can make, too.
yeah, like it's just I can't. But if I was getting at launch, I'd get the Mario Kart deal.
Yeah,
Um,
who's
but I
not?
think Deltarune and I mean, if the GameCube Classics is going to be out at launch, that's grab that shit. That's going to be great. Although there's going to like the GameCube Classics that you can get at launch, definitely going to be these 3, but there's going to be more coming. GameCube, am I an idiot for rebuying my GameCube library on Switch? Because I had a pretty
Well, you're not
expensive
rebuying
library.
it. It's a Netflix subscription. It's $50 a year, and you just have all the games there.
God, that's hot. And they're
They're they're
updated to
they're
run.
they're just there until you don't subscribe anymore, and they're
Which
all
sucks
online.
for its own reasons, but since I already
Yes.
own most of the games, like I'd be okay with this.
To be frank, with the way the secondhand, the retro game market is right now, this is a
This is a steal. Yeah.
significantly cheaper option to go this way to play GameCube games legally.
Yes. Legally, which is all we ever recommend. legally playing the game.
Legally, man, this is legally. I recommend you get an NSO Plus subscription on a Switch 2.
Our
Play
lawyers tell us that we should only recommend the legal way.
Well, I mean, and then on top of it, this is online. So yes, it's going to be split screen, say for F-Zero, but Soul Calibur 2 is going to be online on Switch 2, and F-Zero GX is going to be online. Granted,
That's
it's split
so
screen, but
cool.
it's still there.
It's going to be so cool.
You're going to play these games online, which is really in Mario Strikers, soccer, football, like that is really cool to be
People are
playing
going
that
to learn
online.
that F-Zero GX is one of the best racing games it might be one of the best racing
games, and they're going to get their ass kicked because that game is merciless.
It is brutal. I'm pretty garbage at racing games, just in general. I have a great time playing them, but I'm pretty garbage at them. And F-Zero is maybe the worst I've ever been beat. Do you remember Birdman?
Yeah.
Birdman, for whatever reason, that was like one of his games.
Was he good at that game?
He was good at F-Zero.
Oh my God.
Hot friggin' garbage at most other games. One time he got booped off the Rainbow Road and got so mad that he crushed a controller in his hand. In front of kids at Game World. Amazing.
But F-Zero.
But F-Zero apparently just dominate. Him and that guy Ian. Both amazing at F-Zero. I was garbage. Phil was all right. He wasn't bad.
F-Zero is a very hard game. I've played a lot of it. I'm still not good at it. But man, if you could find a working arcade unit of that game ever in your life, life-changing.
I'm one of the few people that liked Wind Waker a lot, minus the section that everybody dislikes for good reasons.
One of the few people.
I'm
only people. Like Wind Waker is an interesting game because I feel like there's only two types of people: people who love Wind Waker and people who don't care anymore.
Yeah, I'm one of only 3 people known in the world who loves it. No one else really. No, my real opinion on it is that it is a great game if you can skip the whole ocean searching crap. You don't like it because of the art style, but like
well, I don't like the art style, but I would say like the real problem with the game is the pacing. like the art style you can take or lose.
But the pacing is only that one section of the game is
kind of. I mean, I feel like some of the dungeons are good, and then some of them are kind of in the game.
Like which one?
I don't think Tower of the Gods is really that good. It looks kind of boring. And some of them, like the Forest Haven one, is like you practically walk through it. Like I don't know. There was a sort of moment where both with Dragon Roost and Forest Haven, where I'm like, I am too used to these games because everything is really obvious what you're supposed to do. And I'm just sort of like waltzing through these dungeons, like with like complete like awareness of how you're supposed to complete them the first time through. That's kind of more of like you've played too many of these games problems. I also am not a huge fan of how you have to go back to or whatever the Forbidden Fortress, the sneaking around part. I mean, it leads to a really cool encounter with Ganondorf. I really like the lead up to it, but like sneaking around, doing your little like Metal Gear thing with Link, I'm like, it's cool for about 5 minutes, then I'm like, I hate stealth.
Yeah, you hate stealth. I like that.
I hate stealth.
I like that section a lot. But yeah, no, I think that's going to be kind of cool, especially if you got the version of the game where you can, because there is a version of the game where that section, the ocean section, is significantly shorter.
Well, so they give you more fast travel points, I think, and there's also the red sail in the Wii U HD version, which is not what we're getting.
That's upsetting. Then it's still a great time if you haven't played Wind Waker. But yeah, that section sucks horrendous nuts. It took me a long time to get through that section because I would stop playing for significant portions of time.
Well, I mean, it was like you had to go find a chart, and then you had to get a chart. You had to take it back to Tingle to translate the chart for like $300, and then the chart would tell you to go somewhere else, so you could dig it up, from the ocean. So it was just like, man, oh man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it is. There's no argument. It is a bad section of the game. but I still love that game. I think also maybe I just loved the GameCube. It hit at the right time in life where it was just like I'm very nostalgic for it. Probably same with the Xbox 360. I mean, if we really dissected a lot of the games on 360, we could be harsher now than, in hindsight. But I
Yeah.
really loved the 360. It was
People
a
thought
great generation.
we would have a hard time. Well, what would even be on the best of a 360? Just Halo? I'm like, oh no, it's COD.
Yeah.
It's 4, and then Max like, no, Modern Warfare 2. And I'm like, I think COD 4 is better than Modern Warfare 2 personally, but like, um,
I from in what sense? From just overall or
it's an overall more better package.
yeah, I would say that it is more targeted or more
Well, I mean, you didn't have the thing that people love is the fucking kill streaks in Modern Warfare 2, and then but all the bullshit that came with it, like the
right.
OMA, Javelin glitch, all that commando, being OP for a while, commando lightweight, like all this stupid stuff. I don't think the maps were as good in Modern Warfare 2 as they were in COD 4
Well, in
either.
COD 4 the maps are I don't know, I would say that they're much better built, but also I think kill streaks are one of the things I'm the exact opposite of most people where I'm like kill streaks are one of the things that ruined the gunplay in COD.
Yeah.
And ruined the arcadiness of the shooter.
Yeah, because everyone had the same three things in COD original.
Yeah.
You had UAV, you had airstrike, and then you had an attack helicopter. That was it.
And
It was
yeah, it
it
was
was
3,
3,
5,
5,
and 7.
7. That was it. Everyone had the same thing. Now, COD Modern Warfare 2 did introduce anti-air to your arsenal, so you could actually blow stuff out of the sky, which was pretty great. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, because it was you and maybe one other person in the entire world that did that, which made you great to be on the same team with. But like, I don't know a single other person who would actually carry anti-air around in two
The thing
later
is,
games.
I don't. What you don't understand is every so often you jump online and sometimes you get placed on the team opposite your friends,
Yeah,
or whatever, or you would just turn off game chat. You turn off the party chat and you would just constantly be anti-airing. You get to the end of the round or whatever, right? And you just hear the vicious hatred
yeah,
people had for someone who shot down all of their kill streaks.
yeah.
People were just going crazy, with just the violent angriness, because people would be like, every job UAV, blah blah blah. My favorite was the level. It was the airport graveyard, where all like the bits and pieces of
Yeah.
the airports in the middle, of the airplanes in the middle. And for some reason, the way they designed that map was there was a bunch of map outside of the boundary. The border of the map was way more enclosed than the actual physical 3D space of it. So they had all this dead space that was rendered outside the chain link fences, outside the border of the map. Why this was important is if you called in an attack helicopter on that map and I heard it, I could shoot it down before it even
If it
got
got
to the
there.
map.
Yeah.
Before it even got over the game playing space, and the space in which it would actually, before it would even fire a single shot, your largest kill streak would be gone from me. So,
Now, you said people, but for the people that are here at the end of the episode, he means Max. Max would get so raged if you shot down all of his kill streaks because he worked very hard for those kill streaks.
and his solution was then that's how I immediately started getting invite. Max Dude has invited you to his game.
Just there was
He would call me up. He was like, I need you. Like, come on, let's go and raise these kids.
uh we were at a bachelor party once where we all went and played Call of Duty. I think it was Modern Warfare 2, or I don't know if it was 4 or 2. No, it was 4.
It was 4.
And me, my brother, and DJ all ended up on the same team, and we used to play Team Tac a ton. So
Yeah.
we had these like things that we would always do, and so we just assigned DJ to do nothing but hunt Max, and ruined ruined the bachelor party. He's spawn cam. He's not killing anybody else. Yes. Max was so good that if you killed him, you could beat the rest of the team. If you
Everybody
just
picked
killed
that.
him. All right, number one launch title game that you're besides Mario Kart that you're
Oh,
like
Donkey Kong Bonanza.
is I thought Donkey Kong's launch window, not launch.
It's a month.
Yeah, it was a month. Okay.
It is not a launch day. And if you're talking launch day, I have no idea.
Yeah, I
because
guess.
because like the launch day is like it's all games I already have
Right. I
or
was going to say you've
would
played all
otherwise
these.
be interested in. And then there's Mario Kart by proxy, which I'm trying to get the bundle, for.
Right, Mario Kart. You're definitely going to have. That's why I was saying like, no. I was thinking Split Fiction because I haven't
I've
played
already
it yet.
beaten it. I own it and I beat it.
Right. So for me though, because I haven't bought it yet, Split Fiction would be like a good choice.
Oh,
For a launch game.
it's an amazing game. Amazing game. One of the best games of the year already. So
All right. So to wrap up, there's weird news. We didn't go into even all of it because it's all in flux. And I think as the next few weeks unfold, we're going to see a lot of like volatility where shit's just going to be wild, and there's no point in getting into doomerism. But we
yeah,
went over to some of the weird stuff.
I guess the real question here is how much is too much for anyone. I mean, I'm firmly in like $80 is too much, but
No, like personally, I agree. I understand the arguments that are being made. I don't agree with the arguments, but I understand them. I understand why they think that it'll be fine.
And frankly, the market will decide.
Right. If nobody
If
buys the damn game, then it's going to be
if
cheap fast.
$80 truly is, and to say like, oh no, of course it'll sell, of course it'll sell. The Wii to the Wii U was a really rude awakening for Nintendo. The Wii was their best selling system ever.
Yeah, they thought they couldn't
Ever.
lose. Yeah.
They had the best sales of anything ever. And then the Wii U came out and it was way more expensive than a Wii. And everything costs more. Games on average costs more. And it tanked. So I don't think the Switch 2 will tank necessarily, but I didn't think the Wii U was going to tank before it came out either. So
Well, the thing is like I was already saying the Switch 2 is not going to sell as much as the Switch 1. Now I'm like, oh, and the thing is a lot of this isn't necessarily Nintendo's fault, but let's say tariffs didn't happen. I still think there's a lot of people that'll be turned off by the pricing.
oh yeah, if there was no economic turmoil whatsoever around the launch of this thing, if that didn't even exist, this would not sell as much as the Switch 1.
Yeah, they would still be losing some people, and that might balance out. That might be fine. The $80 games might make up for it. But I think no matter what, they're going to see a real shrinkage of their market.
Yeah.
Their slice of the pie is about to get much smaller. I think anybody that's giddy over this, that's like, oh yeah, Xbox fans or whatever, will be like, oh, now it's Nintendo's turn. Which I have seen tweets like that. I think they're dumb because Nintendo consistently has the most unique ideas right now.
Also, they're the model of efficiency and how you should probably be running,
Right.
your game development empire is like
They're not the good guys, but they're
not the good guys. They're just sort of like the guys. Like
they're
just
the
do
best
it like
doing
this.
it right now. But with all that said, we've got producers to thank. Now, granted, I think in the comments for this one, we should get some how much is too much. Like, name a price. What's your threshold?
What is the most you'd be willing to pay for any single game? Like your
any
favorite
single
game.
Because is GTA 6 going to be $100? And are there people that are willing to do it?
I think it'll be 90.
We're going to find out.
I'm calling it. It's going to be $89.99.
Gaming as a hobby is going to get so much more expensive. Our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Austenite, Zybernite, Skronami, Kuroi35, Hyper Viper 89, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.